My husband and I were the two people who hated each other most in this world. He despised me because I had torn him away from the woman he loved, and I despised him because his heart stayed occupied with another woman. Even after 8 years of marriage, even after every battlefield we had survived side by side. You schemed to break Serafina and me apart and forced me to marry you. Is this really the marriage you wanted? The words we exchanged most often were never love, never duty, only curses. But on the day the capital fell, everything changed. The enemy banners were already beyond the inner gate. The city was burning. Damien tied me to his war horse and forced me to ride out. He said quietly, "Stay on this horse, Eleanor. Don't look back." Then he raised his light-forged blade, turned toward the smoke, and did not look back. Streaks of light came down like rain. As they struck him, he turned his head once, only once, and the world broke around him. He had every reason to let me die, but he did not fall before choosing who to protect. When I crawled to him, he was barely breathing. "If there is another life, may your Highness grant me the mercy to belong to her." That night, with the palace in ruins and the people either fallen or fleeing, I climbed the highest tower of the palace. I stepped into the void. When I opened my eyes again, I was sitting across from my father, the king. "The Northern Kingdom requires a royal bride. Do you really insist on marrying General Damien Ashford at a time like this?" "Father, I will not marry Damien anymore. I will go instead." "You will take her place." Among all his daughters, I had always been the most openly hostile toward Serafina. If she so much as stumbled, I was expected to step aside and let her fall harder. If she wanted something, I was supposed to want the opposite. That was how my father always rewarded her. That was how the court kept the peace. Only days ago you were on your knees, weeping, begging me to grant you a marriage to General Damien Ashford. I paused. Then I said calmly, "There is no need. Give that honor to my sister, Father." My father studied me in silence. Among all his daughters, he had always favored the youngest. Sweet, gentle, easy to love. In my last life, he had been ready to send me to the northern border the moment my mother passed, and trade me away to save the war. I had refused. Damien had refused for me. The refusal had cost us both. King Aldrich, amend the decree. The first princess will travel north as the royal bride. When I stepped out of the great hall, it was raining. Cold, relentless, washing the marble steps clean. And there, kneeling in the storm, refusing to stand, was Damien. In my last life, he had knelt there too. He had knelt through the rain until my father finally withdrew Serafina's name. I had stopped him eventually, married him out of spite, and called it love. This time, I only stopped beside him. I tilted my umbrella toward his shoulders. He looked up. For one breath, our eyes met. Then he hardened his jaw and turned his face away, as though my presence was its own kind of wound. "Have you considered, General, that even if His Majesty withdraws the decree, someone will still have to cross that border?" "I am a general of this realm. I will not let any princess be sold for a peace treaty." "Damien, either my sister goes north or I do. Sitting on the flagstones won't change that." "Then be silent, Your Highness. Stop scheming in front of His Majesty, and this union can still be stopped." "Then that is a shame, because this time I will take the marriage onto myself. Let her keep her honor. Let her marry the man she actually loves." I turned and walked away, leaving him staring at the rain.
"Damien, you once gave your life for me. This time, I will reward you." I dressed plainly the next morning. Before I had even stepped out of my chambers, a shoulder slammed into mine and threw me against the stone wall. "Why must you be so stubborn, pushing His Majesty to send Serafina north?" "Let go of me, Damien." His grip tightened, Pain shot through my shoulder. Do you want her dead? Is that what this is? Let go of me. I said let go. Margaret rushed forward, half terrified, but one look from him stopped her cold. She fled. Do you really think, by begging for a royal marriage, that you can make me kneel in front of you? My body went still. His face was the same furious mask it had been in our past life, every blade drawn, every nerve taut, two people standing on either side of a sword. The slap connected before I could think about it. His head snapped to the side. His eyes, after a single stunned beat, dropped to the welts already rising on my arm, the ones he had just left. Forgive me. I was drunk. The border marriage is a matter of state. His Majesty has made his decision. The outcome will be what you want. The last words cut my own tongue. Behind me, he let out a bitter laugh. As long as you exist, what future can Serafina possibly have? I turned to look at him, but he was already gone. I clenched my fists inside my sleeves. Don't worry, Damien. This time I will not cling to you. In less than an hour, a servant arrived at my door carrying a small wooden box. Inside was a balm, the same kind the field surgeon's apprentices use to close open wounds. I did not touch it. I knew the gesture did not come from affection. I knew exactly what I was to him. The eldest daughter of the house his ruined family had once served. A duty bound to him by circumstance, never by love. I closed the box without opening it. I could have told him the truth. I chose not to. Let him stay angry. Let him curse my name. In 3 days, the northern emissary would arrive. In 3 days, the bride's face would be revealed. And then, he would know. Some part of me was already waiting. Not for his love, not for his forgiveness. Only for the moment he understood. For the expression that would cross his face when he did. I attended my kingdom's last grand banquet the night before the procession departed. The hall was already heavy with low music, candlelight, and tears. Serafina stood in the middle of a circle of court ladies, her eyes rimmed red. A court noble. So, after the feast, Princess Serafina will be sent across the northern border. How tragic. And Princess Eleanor sits there in silence, still pining only for General Damien. Serafina's shoulders trembled. The face she had hidden beneath her lowered lashes flashed, sharp, satisfied. Then she glanced at me, breath catching. Serafina. How cruel of her. To stand so quietly while the one being sent away watches. If you are so selfless, why don't you marry the northern king yourself? My mother died too soon. That's the only reason the entire realm owes you anything. Eleanor. Enough theatrics. What game are you playing this time, Serafina? Trying once more to blackmail me in public? Using the border marriage as your little weapon? Trying to make me the villain so you can have Damien all to yourself? Serafina. Aren't you the sharp one? Aren't you the one volunteering to go north? What do you actually want? Eleanor. I want nothing hidden, but there's one condition. Serafina. What condition? Eleanor. Until the royal decree is sealed in my name, this conversation stays between us. Don't tell Damien a single word. Don't tell the court a single word. Serafina. Fine. I accept. But if this is a trick, Eleanor, I will expose you. Eleanor. You can't tell anyone that the Northern Alliance has chosen me. Until I have married Damien first. Until then, utter silence. Accept that. Serafina. Accepted. This was the last debt I owed him. For dying to save me. For the wish on his last breath. I would fulfill that wish, and in this lifetime, I would sever every tie between us, clean and final. Serafina. Eleanor, let me be clear. I will never allow my sister to be sent north to marry. I will fight this with everything I have. Eleanor. And you, wake up from whatever fantasy this is. I will never marry you in this lifetime, Damien. Serafina. Fine. Then watch me. I was placing small wooden practice swords, the ones my late mother had carved for me as a child, into a velvet-lined case when Damien pushed open the door without knocking. Damien. What is all this? Eleanor. Wooden practice swords. Damien. These were carved by your mother. Stop it. They're nothing but wooden practice swords. Serafina, who had slipped in behind him wearing her usual soft, teary expression, leaned against his broad back as if she were the innocent party. Damien, his jaw set, his eyes cold as the northern ice, looked at me like I was already a ghost. Damien. She's being sent north for a political marriage. Was that the little scheme you were dreaming of? You've ruined her entire life. Aren't these useless pieces of wood enough of a repayment? Eleanor. Useless pieces of wood? They were carved by my own mother, with her own hands. Damien. Fine. I'll carve new ones later. What right do you have to keep them? I spun towards Serafina. She was already rubbing dirt into the carved handles, a faint, satisfied smile on her lips. I grabbed her collar with both hands and yanked her forward. Eleanor. You vicious little... Serafina. Damien. Damien. Enough, Eleanor. He pulled her behind him like a shield, his black cloak brushing the floor. His eyes down on me with something close to disgust. Damien. You will not touch her. Eleanor. She ruined my mother's gift. On purpose. Damien. She didn't. Eleanor. You're too busy protecting her to see what's right in front of you. Damien. I said enough. He stepped forward, and that was when the palace bells began to toll. 1, 2, 3. The slow, deep toll that signaled the arrival of foreign emissaries at the outer gate. His face changed. The northern procession had arrived, 3 days early. The great double doors of the courtyard swung open, and under a gray, windless sky, a column of black-clad riders filed into the capital. At their head, on a white horse draped in silver tack, sat a young man in midnight armor. King Theron of the Northern Kingdom had come in person. Sir Cassius. His Majesty King Theron of the North greets the King of the South. He has accepted your kingdom's gesture of a royal bride and has come to complete the marriage himself. A gasp rolled through the court. As King Aldrich stepped forward to receive them, an old palace attendant, one of those nameless figures no one ever really looked at, caught my sleeve on the way past. She was the soothsayer. She whispered, low enough for only me to hear. The soothsayer. Your Highness, the decrees have been changed twice already. Once before, you were the one who crossed the border. This time, history is repeating with a twist. The bride your father has promised is you, but the king the stars have promised is not the northern one. I stared at her. She had already drifted back into the crowd. I felt the wooden sword case grow heavy in my hands. King Aldrich. Let it be known across every corner of this realm. The first princess, Eleanor of House Ashford, will be escorted north today. The alliance is sealed. A murmur swept the court. I lifted my chin. Damien was suddenly beside me. Damien. Eleanor. Eleanor. Damien. Damien. How did this happen? Eleanor. The way I wanted it to. Damien. Your father wouldn't. You wouldn't. Eleanor, look at me. Look at me. I did not look at him. I looked at the line of northern riders, at King Theron, who watched our exchange with a quiet, curious expression, at Sir Cassius, who already had a marriage contract unrolled on a side table. I looked anywhere but into the eyes of the man I had once trapped in a marriage he never asked for. Cancel it. Whatever it cost, cancel it. I'll go north myself. I'll stand as the hostage. I'll sign any treaty. Don't go. I'm doing this for you. Then unmake it. I am ordering you, as your general, to unmake it. No. Something in him broke. He reached for my wrist, the same way he had always done in our last life, the way a man grabs the only thing he has left. But I stepped out of his reach. Our eyes met. In his, I saw the precise moment he understood what I had done to him. I had given him his freedom, and in return, I had walked into the cage myself. Eleanor, please. That single word, please, was something he had never once said in our 8 years of marriage. Not on our wedding night. Not when our son was born. Not when he took his last breath with my name on his lips. It came out of him now like something torn. I turned away before I could answer. Hold him, Sir Cassius. We're leaving. As you command, Your Highness. Sir Cassius moved at once. 2 northern guards flanked me. We walked toward the gate in long, unhurried strides. Behind me, I heard the courtyard fall silent as Damien watched me go. The northern road was not a road. It was a long, unbroken corridor of pine, frost, and silence. The escort did not speak to me unless spoken to. Sir Cassius was polite but distant. King Theron, who rode at the column's head, addressed me only twice. Once to ask my name, and once to ask if I objected to an early morning start. I did not object. I had spent the last lifetime clinging. Now I floated. On the 3rd night, when the column made camp beside an ice-blue lake, Margaret, the only attendant I had been permitted to bring, slipped into my tent carrying a stolen bundle. Your Highness, a letter from the south. The seal was broken. Inside, in a sharp military hand, were 6 lines. Damien's writing. Eleanor, I know what you did. I know why. I am coming to bring you back. Do not sign anything until I arrive. D. I stared at the letter for a long time. Then I folded it and put it inside the velvet case with my mother's wooden swords. I did not reply. 4 days later, a rider from the Northern Vanguard returned from a scouting mission and reported, casually, that a Southern military column had crossed into Northern border territory under a white parley flag. At its head rode the commander of the Southern Army, alone, unarmed. The Southern general's name, my scouts say, is Damien Ashford. I closed my eyes. Of course. We arrived at the northern capital on the 7th day of the march. The city was built into a mountain. The walls were raw stone, blackened by centuries of mountain wind. King Theron's throne hall opened directly out of the cliff face, and the throne itself was a single carved slab of black ice that wept condensation onto the floor. When I was presented to the court, first as equerry, then as the bride-elect, the northern lords studied me with reserved, almost sympathetic curiosity. They had heard, somehow, that the southern princess had not come willingly. They were wrong. I had come perfectly willingly. I had come because a man I once loved could not love me back. And I had decided that the only repayment I could make was the one he asked for with his final breath: to belong to her. The her in question was going to be the North itself. The wedding was set for the next full moon. I had 4 days. On the second morning, Sir Cassius entered my chambers with an unusual expression on his face. Behind him stood a southern officer in travel-stained uniform, with mud still on his boots. "Your Highness, a visitor has claimed parley rights under the treaty your betrothal invokes."
"Who?"
"Me." He stepped around Sir Cassius and stood in the doorway of my borrowed chambers, breathing like a man who had chased a ghost across half a continent and refused, for the first time in his life, to look anywhere but at me. 3 weeks of hard riding, sleepless camps, northern winter, and something else I could not name had worn him down to bone. "Eleanor, I know everything. I know what you did. I know why you did it. And I am telling you, in front of the northern court if I have to, I will not allow this marriage to happen. You are coming home." "I am home." "Don't say that to me." "The man I married in my past life died on a battlefield because of me. The woman he loved is alive. The peace his death bought is real. I will honor all of it." "Eleanor, 8 years. 8 years I hated you. Do you know why? Because every time I looked at you, I saw the woman I lost. And every time I looked at her, I saw the wife I had abandoned. There was no version of me that got to keep any of you." He took a step closer. His voice dropped so only I could hear it. "I didn't die on that battlefield for the realm, Eleanor. I died for you. And you have the absolute audacity to stand here and tell me I am free. You asked for it. With your last breath, you asked for it. I asked for it because I knew I was about to leave you alone. Because I knew you would not survive without an anchor. Because no matter how I hated you in this life, I wanted you to have something. And what you have done is throw it away. I gave it to the woman you loved. That woman has been dead to me for 10 years. "What?" "When the city fell, I rode out with you. I did not ride back to find her. I already knew where she was. I already knew she had chosen her own husband, her own realm, her own life, years before the siege. What I carried into that battle was not love for her. It was grief for you. Grief that I had wasted every year hating the only person who ever looked at me and stayed." The room tilted. I gripped the back of a chair. "Eleanor, I am not here to take back my freedom. I am here to take back my wife." He dropped to one knee. "Don't sign the marriage contract. Don't belong to him. Belong to me, because this time I am asking." Behind me, I heard Sir Cassius's polite cough. He stepped forward, extended a rolled parchment. "Your Highness, the marriage contract awaits your seal." Damien was still on his knee. The northern court waited in silence. The soothsayer's words circled in my head. "The bride your father has promised is you. But the king the stars have promised is not the northern one." I looked at Damien. I looked at the parchment. Narrate this dramatic romantic fantasy script in a single consistent male voice with emotional storytelling delivery. Keep all dialogue labels and punctuation clear. I did not sign the marriage contract that day. I did not sign it the day after either. I asked King Theron for 7 more days. He granted them with the same quiet curiosity he had shown the day we first met. On the 7th night, dressed in the formal robes of the Southern Crown, I walked alone to the northern shrine at the cliff's edge. Damien walked half a step behind me. Eleanor, why did you come after me? Damien, because I owe you the answer I never gave you in our lifetime. You asked me once, on our wedding night, what kind of marriage I wanted. I said nothing. Eleanor, I remember. Damien, I wanted one where you stayed, not because you trapped me, but because you chose me. I wanted one where you could have walked away and didn't. I wanted one where the woman who hated me as fiercely as I hated her finally loved me before she lost me. Eleanor, I never hated you, Damien. Damien, I know. That was the worst part. The wind off the cliff was bitter and clean. The northern moon was a giant, swollen white disk, so close it felt like it could be pulled down by hand. I turned to face him. In the moonlight, the face I had spent an entire previous life trying to read, finally, fully, opened. Eleanor, if I take back my promise to the north, if I refuse the marriage, what do I get? Damien, you get a man who has spent a year learning how to say your name without flinching. You get a man who traveled across a hostile kingdom in winter to kneel in front of you. You get a man who has no kingdom to offer, no crown, no political alliance. You get a man who has only ever loved one woman in his life, Seraphina, until he didn't. Eleanor, until he didn't? Damien, until he stopped being able to pretend. He took my hand. His palm was warm, calloused, steady. I closed my fingers around his. Eleanor, then take me home, Damien. Take me home. But this time, walk beside me. Don't put me on the back of your horse. Don't ride ahead. Don't die for me. Just walk beside me. Damien, always. The next morning, I returned the marriage contract to King Theron unsigned. He read it once, in silence, in front of his full court. Then he looked up at me with an expression I had not expected. Not anger, not disappointment, but something gentler, almost amused. King Theron, I have been told by my stars, Your Highness, that the woman promised to our house was never truly meant for it. It seems they were right. I release you from the bond. Go in peace. He stood, descended the dais, and offered his hand once, not in marriage, but in farewell. I took it. Then Damien and I walked out of the northern throne hall together, side by side, as I had asked. Sir Cassius, safe travels, Your Highness, both of you. Damien, we will not forget your kindness, Sir Cassius. We did not look back. The journey south took 3 weeks. Damien kept his word. He walked beside me the entire way. He did not ride ahead. He did not put me on the back of his horse. When the rain came, we shared his cloak. When the rivers blocked us, he carried me over on his back, but only when I asked, and only as far as the bank. My father's court received the news of my return with the kind of stunned silence reserved for miracles and scandals. I had been supposed to die in the north. I had been supposed to disappear into a foreign alliance and never be heard from again. Instead, I came home with the general I had once reluctantly married in another life, walking beside me, not before me. King Aldrich. Eleanor, explain. Eleanor. Father, the Northern Alliance is sealed on different terms. General Ashford has personally undertaken to guarantee the border peace for the next 20 years. In exchange, I am returned to the Southern Court, with the rank I was born to and the husband I have chosen. I paused. Then I said calmly, "The bride your stars promised the North was never me, Father. It was my sister. She is welcome to take my place if she still wishes to go." My father studied me in silence for a long, long moment. Then, for the first time in my life, he nodded at me with something close to respect. King Aldrich. So be it. Summon Princess Seraphina. Prepare the northern procession anew. Behind the throne, Seraphina, who had been watching from the gallery, went pale. Her gaze found Damien. Then it found me. Then it found the floor. For the first time in her life, I saw her without a plan, without a mask, without a single word prepared in advance. Seraphina. Eleanor, you cannot do this to me. Eleanor. I have done nothing to you, Seraphina. I simply asked to come home. The North asked the same question. Answer it for yourself. I turned and walked out of the great hall. Damien walked beside me. Margaret followed 3 steps behind, already crying into her sleeve. Damien. Eleanor. Eleanor. Yes? Damien. Is this over? Eleanor. No. This is just beginning. He did not smile, but the corner of his mouth twitched. That was as close to a smile as he had ever given anyone. Years passed. The scars faded, then returned with the weather. The North learned our names and then forgot the titles that had once clung to us. We became something simpler, quieter, and more enduring. In old age, when the nights grew longer and the fire no longer chased off the chill as easily, my thoughts would sometimes wander backward. I would remember a man who had told me he had hated himself. Not for glory, not for honor, not for a crown, but because he had reached the moment where losing me was no longer survivable. That was the love he had never learned to name. He sat beside me now, sharpening a blade that had not seen war in decades. Our son, grown, steady, honorable, rode the perimeter beyond the hills, guarding a peace that had once cost us everything. Sometimes I was still surprised I was here, as if some part of him existed ready to demand payment again. But I knew he would not make speeches or carve poetry into stone. He would do what he had always done. He would stay. And in that silence, in that unyielding, patient presence, was the truth of us. A love forged not in vows, but in choice, in blood spared, in a man who had once walked into a ruined palace alone, and had never, not for a single day since, left my side again.